Another archetypal and symbolic story that we're going to cover in this particular section is about Krishna and his play with the gopis. Krishna is a deity who is especially associated with Bhakti, with this divine love, with the cooling energy channel on the left side of the body, and playfulness. And while we have been discussing the Bhagavad Gita, which is one text in which Krishna appears, he also appears in several other texts which detail other aspects of his life, especially his childhood and his growing up and his ruling over Dwarka. So these texts, such as the Srimad Bhagavatam or the Bhagavata Purana and the Gita Govinda, are primary sources for the life of Krishna, especially regarding his childhood and upbringing. So as a child, Krishna was a cow herder, and he had all these dalliances, these romances with a group of cow herd women called the gopis. In Sanskrit, the word go means cow. It also means sense. So Krishna, as a cow herder, is the lord of the senses, Govinda. And the gopis are embodiments of the sense powers, the energies which flow through the sense organs, as well as the energy channels, the nadis throughout the body, whereas Krishna is an embodiment or representation of universal consciousness. And he especially is representing a certain blissful, playful aspect of consciousness, which is integrated and embodied in the material plane, because he is an avatara. He is an incarnation of Vishnu, the preserver. So although Krishna has this very playful, blissful side where he plays the flute and gets into mischief as a child, he also has this other side of him where he can cause agitation and cause longing. So there's this dualism or dichotomy in his character. So while the gopis are the energy of the senses, they also are archetypal embodiments of the power of love specifically, and this divine energy that causes the devotee to long for and to eventually become united with universal consciousness. One of the most important stories about Krishna and the gopis is called the Rasa Leela. That means the dance play, basically. And that represents the awakening of the nadis, the energy channels. In the Rasa Leela, Krishna plays his flute at night and he lures the gopis into the forest. Now, the gopis are all married women. So when Krishna plays his flute, he is drawing them away from their husbands, away from their worldly duties, into the forest at night in order to dance and play with him. And when they arrive at the Rasa Leela in the forest, Krishna divides himself into countless different bodies so that he can dance with each gopi. And each gopi feels like they are dancing with him and they are alone and together. This represents the union of the energy in the body with universal consciousness. So the awakening of the energy channels in this ecstatic state. There is one gopi, Radha, who is Krishna's most beloved, and she represents the Sushumna, the central energy channel that extends from the perineum to the crown of the head. Radha's love for Krishna is so intense that it surpasses even Krishna's capacity for love. And when she feels that she is separated from Krishna, her longing becomes so intense that she feels as though she is being stung by millions of bees. So it is this dichotomy between longing and bliss that plays such a central role in Bhakti Yoga, where we are focusing all of our emotions towards a deity, not just love, but anger, longing, desire, what have you, all of our emotions can be surrendered unto a deity and directed towards a deity, and then transmuted through mantra and through devotion and through all these different kinds of bhakti yoga practices, which transform those emotions into this state of divine love. It is through Krishna and Radha's play that they are able to experience each other, because Radha is an incarnation, an avatara of Lakshmi, of Vishnu's wife. So Vishnu and Lakshmi are one in essence, but they appear different because they have different qualities as they appear. When they appear to human beings who are not liberated, they appear as different. And they take on different bodies as Krishna and as Radha in order to engage in this divine play. And part of that play includes feeling as though they are separate. So there's this appearance of separation that facilitates this alchemical process of love, where Radha goes through intense longing and misery and suffering, and that longing and misery and suffering draws Krishna to her and opens Krishna's heart to her in such a way that both of them experience this divine bliss and union that they could not without each other. The Rasa Leela, the play between Krishna and the gopis, can be understood as a metaphor for pratyahara, for the withdrawal of the senses, which is the fifth limb of Ashtanga Yoga. So the gopis are, again, these energies in the body on an esoteric level that are connected to the senses, and their husbands are sense objects. So in Krishna playing the flute and luring the gopis into the forest, it's like the senses are turning away from sense objects and instead turning towards the innate awareness which animates all life and consciousness. This myth is not necessarily meant to be taken as an excuse for unethical sexual behavior or anything of that nature, but it's really just a metaphor for turning inwards, and also for the nature of divine love, because love knows no rules. So there is a lot of this feminine symbolism and imagery in Krishna's form and mythology that are in great contrast to, say, Rama, who is also an incarnation of Vishnu. So they're different aspects of the same divinity. However, Rama is more concerned with dharma and duty and social hierarchy and things like that, whereas Krishna is more concerned with playfulness and making love and playing the flute and, these more artistic, feminine types of things. So why would somebody want to cultivate this kind of relationship with deity, with the divine? Well, for one thing, it makes universal consciousness much more accessible, because universal consciousness is an abstract concept that is somewhat difficult to understand if you haven't experienced it directly, and it's just not part of most people's daily experience. So by giving universal consciousness a particular name and form, it makes it as though universal consciousness were a person that we can relate to and pray to and love, and that's much more accessible, again, to most people than this abstract concept. There's also all the symbolism that goes in with the different deities, and the symbols, while they're not totally accurate representations of universal consciousness, they are ways that we can send these messages into the causal body, into the subconscious, that causes our karmic patterns to realign with this innate awareness within ourselves and within external reality as well. So one of the primary practices of Bhakti Yoga is called Kirtan, which is a form of call and response chanting. And there are other devotional practices as well, like puja, which is ritual worship, or japa can take on a very devotional character. That is the meditation on the repetition of a divine name. So in using these mantras, the mantra is a name for a particular deity and a particular form of that deity. And these Sanskrit mantras especially have a particular resonance that is very powerfully aligned with a particular energy, so that each deity mantra evokes a particular energetic power that can shape and transform our awareness in a particular way. And just like different kinds of music have very different effects on our awareness, different mantras can have very different effects as well. And we will talk about that more in the section on mantra yoga. But by repeating the divine name, it's like we are calling out to the deity and asking the deity to come to us. And by doing this over and over and over again, it's like we are opening our hearts and creating this connection to the divinity, and through the energetic vibration of that divine wisdom and power of that deity. And in time, with a lot of practice, it is like calling the name of the deity actually draws the deity to you, so that you can surrender to the deity and experience divine grace, which is this flowing of divine power in your life that transforms your state of awareness into a state of divine union and bliss. In this practice, it is about really cultivating devotion and directing all emotions towards divinity in some manner.